So welcome to RoxFilm, the virtual or online edition. I guess, there's controversy around virtual and online, so it's cooler to say virtual. I mean, even though we're not all in head things. So I want to welcome the cast and the crew of Night's Tour and the filmmaker from Baradar, Beppe. So I guess I would just so I don't know if you guys were like thinking like why did they put those films together? Like we pride ourselves on curating films, and we just felt like they both had this same sort of beautiful relationship type of feel to it, as well as the cinematography, which was just magnificent. So I would love for you all to sort of just talk about you know the the reason behind making this film. I mean, Marvin, I've heard you talk a little bit about that before, but they both have this sort of like dystopian kind of real life feel to it. So I would love for you to sort of talk about what inspired that for both of you. And hi, Francesco. Is it also 3 in the morning?
Are you still on mute?
Oh, you're on mute. So Marvin, why don't we start with you?
Oh, okay. Well, to be honest, the reason why it's kind of dystopian is when I first wrote the screenplay, I was writing it as sort of like a form of therapy. It was like a way of sort of dealing with a lot of darker emotions, and it was at a point in my life where I had switched career paths. It was something where I originally thought I was going to work in science as a scientist, and that sort of fell apart after I realized that's not the career path for me. And then that led to some darker feelings, because especially as like a Korean American, you're very much told like you got to follow a certain type of career path, you got to blah blah blah, all that stuff. So I was going against the grain, and this was sort of a way of trying to resolve some of those emotions. I often say this is like the character of Henry. He's basically what I'm feeling the entire time. That feeling of he wants to be isolated. He wants to reach out to people, but is terrible at it, and it's causing a lot of problems. And he's very extreme in a lot of his emotions, in the highs and lows. That was like an extreme version of me at the time. And then the character of JD was basically a way to sort of just balance that out, so that it's not all just a character falling apart by himself. I wanted there to be sort of relationship growing and something positive out of it. So that's where I approached that from, at least from a screenplay perspective. And it grew as as Joe and Darnel got attached. That changed the roles, and it sort of grows it from there. Like like I always had the script with Darnel in mind for JD, but even then, after those actors filled in the shoes of those characters, it changes the way they're not what I thought they were when I wrote them, right? So,
right.
And that's part of the process that I like. Every step of the process is rewriting, right? You write your script, you cast it, the cast rewrites your script. They're not literally taking a pen and paper and rewriting your script, but the fact that they are these people. Well, sometimes, but the fact that they are literally these people changes the way the story functions. And then when you're shooting it, conditions on set just require this movie to be a certain way. When you're editing it, you're rewriting the story. It's part of what I like about the process. It's very alchemic that way.
Right, and it's very authentic, and you give flexibility to your actors to be able to bring those characters out. Now, Beppe, your film is based on a true story.
Sorry?
Is it? Your film?
Yeah. It's a true story. It's
based on a true story. But again, finding these actors to bring that story to life. Did you make different changes, and where did this story come from for you?
Yeah, I think I try to explain. There is also Francesco, and Francesco is a writer and is also a friend of mine. And one time, 2 years ago, we was talking about a project to do together, and Francesco was working to a project to write a book about the story of Ali. This is a real story, and when Francesco told me this story, I think, okay, this is a great opportunity to tell a big story, an actuality story, and a story of hope. And so we try to work together to build this project, and we work 1 year to understand how it's possible tell this story, where, because the true story is in the story, the moment of the travel of this guy Ali and Mohammed was in Turkey, and we were in Italy, and so we had to find a small village in Italy to tell this story. And also the problem was, okay, we need 2 actors, or no actors, but we need 2 brothers, Afghan brothers. And so we find in 10 years in Italy to research, to do this kind of research. And at the end, we find 2 real brothers with a story similar to Ali. They just arrived in Italy without parents, and when we met these guys, we were thinking, okay, maybe these guys as the perfect guys to try to tell this story. And so we started work with them to try with them. We try to them to do in a set and to do a real film.
Wow!
And so we worked with them for 10 days. The problem that was the language, because they talked only Farsi. It is a Afghan's dialect, and so after many different problems to resolve, at the end we were on the set, and we shoot with them this story.
Wow.
What if I can add something? What we understand when I started this project as a writer was that there were many people who experienced something very similar to Ali. There were many guys, mainly they were men, boys, who left their country and who came to Italy after a long journey, as Ali did. And when we started to look for actors, as Beppe said, we were lucky to find these 2 brothers, but we did not make a real casting, or we did not start with a casting society or casting company. We asked for some human rights association to indicate people who can fit with this kind of story. And also, as Beppe said, the short movie was something like a development of what I already did with the book. We tell this story in a book, and in a way we were very happy that we can go on with video to deepen the story we already started with words, with writing.
Wow. I mean, it's interesting because you know, so many of the films that we're screening at RoxFilm this year are so timely, and they're, you know, you from the sit-in in 1968 to the immigrant issue, and then looking at A Night's Tour and this whole, like you were saying, Marvin, about the dystopian feeling and the feeling of, you know, isolation and wanting to be isolated and be away from everything is a really, it's real in that feeling that you feel that way. So I'm interested. So it's very interesting that you actually cast brothers, and that you but I wouldn't know that. They seemed like that maybe you had hired them as actors. And then we look at Night's Tour, where Marvin, you made the choice to cast Darnel, right? Who's, you know, and said, I'm going to make this piece for him. And then John. So, but almost like that same sort of relationship, that sort of like, you know, almost, you know, understanding each other, but not really, like not wanting to be with each other. Can you guys just talk about that relationship and how you guys did that and how you felt about that? Just being, because, you know, you're two people in a scene, that's it. And how did that play out for you, especially in the world today and wanting to be in that space, that isolated space?
Yeah, like, so, like, yeah, Joe and Darnel, like, how did you guys?
Yeah, Joe and Darnel.
So, oh yeah, sorry,
Okay.
I was losing.
Yeah, I was wondering who that question was going. Oh, who was going to? I'm sorry. Go ahead,
Joe.
Go
ahead, Joe.
Okay. All right.
Sorry, I'm just breaking up. I'm so sorry. I almost barely got the question.
Just sort of like how you felt about being in that space that Marvin had created.
Oh yeah, okay, perfect. So yeah, actually it was very, for the most part, it was, working with Marvin is easy. I've known him for a very long time. Marvin has been almost over 20 years. I feel like we're forever. We're high school friends, and but when he writes his characters, they're people. I've done this is probably my 4th or 5th project with Marvin, and each time the people are they're real, true people. It's not even like playing a character. For the most part, I just read what's in the script and then just connect with them because they're easy. Now, the beauty with working with Joe, though, is Joe made my life so easy because he's a pleasure to work with. He's such a nice guy overall.
Trust me.
Yeah, I've never met this man before in my life. We come to like a table read or something, and it was just like, I've known the man forever. And to this day, it was like whenever I talk to him, it's easy. And then we would go over the scripts, because the script's gone through of course, when writing the scripts, I can only imagine how many drafts you have to go through. And the scripts changed several times. But by the time it was time for shooting, me and Joe were just ready. It felt, and the atmosphere because we shot in this just in the middle of nothing.
I know that.
It was. Yeah. It is outrageous where he found this place, because I guess it was one of his teachers or so. Wasn't it like a teacher or something, Marvin? Something like that.
Yeah, it was our professor's property. Yeah.
Yeah. Right. We got so lucky. And then everything from the atmosphere, it wasn't easy. For my job was I just had to show up and just let everybody just bring it out of me, and that was effortless. Because Joe's the man. Joe is the man.
So Joe, how about you then?
A couple of times, huh? No, I made you feel it. I know. No, but seriously though, I mean, it was. I think, like, for the most part, the script and the scenery, the place that we were filming at, I mean, it meshed so well. I mean, it was like pretty much we were isolated. And I mean, it's like, you know, me and Marvin talk about this, you know, we kind of always remember it took us like 30 minutes to drive up there just from the park.
Yeah, just to get up there.
You know, to this cabin. And it was cool. It was cool once you get out there, but, you know, it's one of those type of places, pitch black at night when you go outside. You know, you don't want to go outside because it's so dark out there. It was really easy. Yeah, I mean, it's like it was just really easy to like get into that part and like really feel the story, you know, because that's pretty much what it was about. 2 people out in the middle of nowhere surviving, and it's kind of like with the actors as well as the crew, us being up there for so long, because I think it took us like about 3 or 4 weeks of filming, something like that. You know?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah. I didn't think about this then, but like afterwards, it felt like, and I mean, we were all working together. It was a cool environment, but we were actually kind of like surviving each other, you know, because I mean, it's like, it was still us. It was more than two people, including the folks behind the camera, but we were still kind of sort of isolated. And if we had a problem on set, one way or the other, we dealt with it, and we pulled it off, and so far as like, working with Darnel, basically, yeah. I mean, it's like, the script helped me. What Marvin put in the script, it helped me develop that character. Like I said, not to mention the environment helped develop that character, because it really gave me something to work with, just being isolated like that. But it's like, as far as like Darnel, I mean, it was really good. I wasn't working with somebody that was just there tossing lines with me back and forth. He was actively listening to me. He was in the zone, and that helped me stay in the zone. Kind of like an alternator type battery thing. We kept fueling each other, So I mean, it was cool. I mean, that was a wonderful experience, and like I said, we got to do something else. We're going.
I mean, it's interesting that you talk about the space, because that's one of the things in both of your movies. Your scenery, the point of place really was its own character as well. So, and the cinematography is just beautiful. So, can you talk a little bit, Marvin and Beppe, about sort of like the process of creating these incredible scenes and sort of really putting us in these spaces? Was magnificent. Can you just talk a little bit about that, about the characters of these places and the way you shot them?
Yeah, for at least, so our cinematographer Daryl, when we worked with him, we had a chance to check out the cabin for a long time before we started shooting, so we got pretty intimate with the space. But then there were two things that emerged really quickly, which I was grateful I had people on set to help me with. One was that the cabin itself actually was very, very simple, but we wanted, at least for the initial part where JD enters the cabin and is thrown around in it, for it to feel confusing, maybe disorienting, almost violent in terms of his inability to orient himself. So we did lots of stuff where we're shooting long lenses, we're shooting close up, we're intentionally breaking 180 a lot, because we're breaking 180 but staying on a single character so that you remain oriented on character but you lose space. So you start going, where in this cabin are we? And that's because we're trying to be like, this cabin for JD, he hasn't had a grasp on it yet. The other thing is we also had some outdoor shooting sections, which were like we didn't have access just to the cabin. We had access to this like 20 acre like kind of like cattle farm. You never see in the movie, but there's actually a bunch of cows just running wild.
Yes, we smelled them. Definitely smelled them.
Yeah. But then I was actually I'm not very outdoorsy, so it was actually very difficult for me to direct out there. So I was really happy that both Joe and Darnel and Daryl and Emily Moran, who's our costume designer, who came with us, and all of our crew, like Ilana Coleman, who's our assistant camera operator, they like kind of helped fill in. They understood what we were making, and they kind of helped fill that in for me when I was like, I'm out of my element. That's the perfect way to put it. Yeah, this is actually.
Well, the rules are nature, right? So you got rattlesnakes coming up on you. You got
that was a fun.
Weather. It's hot outside. It's hard to focus. So it was just very.
Roska, who's our production sound mixer, actually, as we were going down the road, he saved us from a rattlesnake because nobody saw the rattlesnake, and then maybe like 10 feet in front of Roska just put out his arms and said, "Stop." And we were like,
and
why?
where was it filmed? It was filmed in Northern California, right? Or
it's in SoCal. It's in Southern California.
SoCal, okay.
Lake Piru in California.
Yeah.
Okay.
Piru, which is like part of like.
It had a fire recently.
Yeah, that was another thing we were like constantly stressed about.
We were in fire season. So.
We were in fire season.
Oh wow, yeah.
Fires were actually the week prior. apparently on the mountain on the other side of where we were shooting, like the FBI had just discovered like a marijuana field that was illegal, so they were burning it, and then there was just fires everywhere, and we were just like, this is very stressful to shoot up here, because if a fire happens, it's a tiny 1-lane dirt road to get back down.
It's a real danger we have to think about. Actually, the fire department came out and inspected our like to make sure that there was nothing that was like flammable,
that was fun.
Anything like that.
Oh yeah, well of course. I mean that's especially you're in California, yeah, especially in that space.
Huge fire risk area. Like any little thing set it off. So it was very, very very
And I mean it's just so for your film it was so that space, that point of play, I mean it just, that whole emptiness and that just this added so much to the film. I mean it added so much to your feeling of loneliness and almost helplessness. And you know, it was sort of like Beppe in your film, the beautiful ocean, and you know, you talked before about wanting to give hope, like the film has hope, and you know, and the little town that you ended up filming in gives that film its sense of character.
Yeah, me and Francesco, and also with the director of photography, we wanted to give to each shot a sense of dramatic realism. And so for us, the problem is find a balance to a film, a documentary. The difficulty was find this balance and also work with non-professional actors, in this case also children, and with another language. And so find a compromise on the set to realize a film with great photography, but also a sense of realism. And so we for find this balance, we talk many times with the director of photography, and he was also in a theater when we was doing some tests with the actors, because our situation was completely different when we were doing test on the theater and after on the set, because our guys, our actors, were a disaster in theater, a disaster completely. It was impossible work with them. It's impossible. And we
What do you mean? What do you mean?
I don't know what to explain, but when we decided to start and we were on the set, I don't know what happened, but it's maybe Francesco can help me, but it's magia.
Yeah, I think there was anything magic.
Magic, something magic arrived, and something did change. And with the director of photography, we decided to use also hand camera and find the balance to stay and to stay with these guys, near the face of these guys, and follow him. And don't use too much pressure with our camera. And
so this is really interesting. So your actors were not like Darnel and Joe, that were very open and easy to work with. Your actors were, so you had to really keep close, do lots of close-ups and everything, and cutaways. So that changed the nature of I mean, you had to tell a story. You had to.
No, if I can add something.
Go ahead, Francesco.
I just wanted to add something. I think that they were very, very shy.
Yes.
And try to think about, they just arrived in Italy a couple of weeks before. They meet two guys. 25 years older than there, and they tell them, okay, you just arrived in Italy, and now we are going to make a movie, but it's a real set, it's not amatorial, but very professional. And
your brother dies.
Yeah, they have someone who has to help, who was the real Ali, because we live in Milan, we went to Rome, and we met these two brothers and the real Ali. And the real Ali did not, he left Afghanistan when he was 8 years old, now he's 29. And I don't know, we did not understand, but they have problems to understand each other because everyone spoke a different way, different Afghan dialect or language. So the person who has to help us did not communicate with them. I just,
that came, but you know what? I mean, that didn't come across. I don't know. I mean, I know that you all saw that too, Marvin and Joe and Selena. I don't know if you all saw Baradar, but that didn't come across. What about you guys?
Came across really naturally, actually.
Yeah, no, it was wonderful.
I would not have known that was part of the.
I know, and that's the beauty. But it's so interesting because that's the beauty of sort of having some non-verbal in a sense. It's almost like you guys too in Night Store. I mean, you didn't need all of this dialogue. The characters speak for themselves, and the emotion that comes out of that speaks for itself. So you all, it was the same thing. I mean, like in Night Store, it was we just went along with you. We had no idea where we were going. We had no idea where we were going. We had no idea who these characters were. We had no idea if there was going to be a map. Oh, I can't give it away, but you know, there were so many places, and even in your film as well, Beppe and Francesco, like we never really knew exactly what was going to happen until we came to the end, and you know, we were all just totally with that story the whole time. And
and there is another interesting thing. It was the issue of the growth, because when we met mainly the younger one. Now we met these two brothers. One was 12 years old, and the other one was about 17. And as you can imagine, we met him in May, June. And then during July, Beppe made some training with the two brothers. And when we met them in September, beginning of September, trying to schedule the set, trying to say, okay, at the end of the month, we are going to shoot and so on. But as happened very, very often and very quickly, in 2-3 months, the younger one was changing his face. He was no longer a little boy, but he was becoming something different. So we are really to rush to make the movie, because 2 months later, he could not fit with the story because he looked too and so
exactly. That's what happened.
It was changing completely in 2-3 months. You know, after holidays, you come back to school and you are a different person. And this is the situation we experience with him.
Puberty on the film set, huh?
Right. Dealing with kids.
That's the accurate yourself to your film.
So let's talk a little bit about, like,
also have these problems with.
They also say working with kids and animals.
Okay.
Yeah, working with kids and animals.
Working with kids and animals. So we don't have a whole bunch of time left, but I would just love for both of you to sort of just talk about, you know, why this film, one, was so important for you to do, and that's for all of you. And two, you know, what's next after this piece? So why don't we start with you, Selena?
Like
what this piece means to you, and your involvement in this, and what it meant to you.
So this piece to me, I mean, it was obviously a really, really long, important process for me. We worked probably like a total, like a year on it together. We worked with.
And beyond that.
Yeah, and beyond that, and it's been years in the making. So for me, it's been a really it's been a very like critical development part of like my career, my style of filmmaking, the type of work that I want to really work on and dedicate myself to. So this film really kind of set the tone for that for me, and like working with Darnel and Joe and the crew we had, and within the budgets we had, and you know, it was just a really, really big learning experience, and one that I think was very important for me to go through personally. So yeah, I'm just really I'm really happy that I was involved in the process, and I learned a ton, and I'm really happy that I met Joe and Darnel, and I think 2020 really like threw a wrench in terms of like what's next.
Oh yeah.
But you know, I mean, I know that we are working on writing different films and podcasts and different things, you know, trying to maybe adapt different ideas into different mediums given the circumstances that we're in, and definitely work with Joe and Darnel again. I mean, I don't think our relationship stops there at this film. So yeah, so that's what I think. You know, it's hard to say what's I don't know. Ask me after November. We'll see what's next.
Right. Oh, we're not even going to go there. We are not even going to go there.
But
what about
you know, trying to think of better, newer, innovative ways to kind of do this and, you know, make films. Stories.
Yeah. And Joe, what about you?
With me in this film, I can honestly say that I was like trained, you know, on stage and in front of the camera, like, you know, did the whole college thing with it and everything. But I can, to be totally honest with you, this was the first project that I've done that really, as far as film is concerned, with stage, I was always stressing myself out, stressing my talent out on stage, because it's you stage 100% or you don't. That's just how it is. Honestly, say with this film, this was like really the first film where I had to give 100% on it. The script demanded it. The people I was working with demanded it. And whether they said it or not, you know, I knew that's what I had to do. And I'm grateful for that, because stage, like I said, you give 100% on it. But when it comes to film, you have to tone yourself down as an actor on film, especially when you're coming off the stage. And I did like a lot of other projects before, and I didn't know what level I should tone myself down at. But because the character was so intense in this particular project that Marvin had came up with, it was easy for me. His personality was like huge.
Yeah.
Though he was soft-spoken to a certain point with certain things. He was quiet, you know, he kept to himself, even with another person in there in the room with him. At least from my point of view, that's how I took Henry. And all of those complexities, it just pretty much, it helped me grow as an actor, which is a really good thing for an actor, you know? And, you know, even now, when I look at that, whenever I look at the film and what we filmed this back in 2013, I think. Was it
2014?
Wow, yeah.
Yeah, you know, it's like when I look back on that performance now, I look back at the whole element of it, and I can honestly say, you know, being a part of that project just made me a much better actor, pretty much more than anything I've ever done before, period. You know, so definitely grateful for that, and that's something I'm definitely going to always take with me as an actor. You know, that type of experience, to be stressed out that much as an actor. So, I mean, that made my acting muscle 1,000,000 times stronger, and I'm definitely grateful for that. So
that's awesome. That's great. Sarah?
Oh, probably
Darnel.
Darnel?
Oh, Darnel.
Oh, okay. Hi. Well, this project meant a lot, more than I would have known, since so much time has passed since we actually filmed it. Because it was a lot of firsts. I've done a lot of stage work. I did a lot of short films. Nothing like to this scale. And this was the first time I've actually did a full-length feature. And during that time, I was going through, when we were filming, a lot of self-doubt. I was pretty much done acting. And I'm very overly critical with my work. And I've never been able to watch any of my own projects. I've never been able to engage with my work. Once I'm done with it, I'm done with it because I just overly critical. Even with this one, because we filmed it in 2014. So over these years, I've very much took acting in the back burner because I just was self-conscious over it. But then seeing this now and how it's being watched and people are reviewing it and it's getting so much attention, and at the end of the end, seeing like because Joe's great. I love working with Joe. I love working with Marvin. We met so much great people on set, the crew, Sara, Selena, everybody there, everybody involved. So great. And then seeing the finished project I love the film. I love everything about the film. I love the work we put into it. We all went into it with one goal, and just to make a great project. And it shows. I love it. I'm so proud of it. And I can say that even if I don't do anything else, but I'll tell you right now, I might, because I got the itch again. I got the itch. I want to do
there you go.
But
and there you go. That's what it's all about.
I honestly now, because it's like I miss it. It's my very first love. I've done all kinds of other things, music and all kinds of just random projects, podcasts, all these things. But my first love has always been acting. It's my one and only true love, and I'm very proud of it. And I can honestly say that I would love to go back to work someday and probably get back, maybe do film, maybe do stage, probably definitely the stage. Anyways, I'm very proud of it. I'm very happy with everything, and I'm glad you guys had us. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Oh, absolutely. And Beppe, what about you?
For me, my dream is to be able to tell a story like this. I would like in the future find story like this and story universal and be proud of my work when it's possible tell this kind of story, because for me the cinematic language could be sometimes educational value, and when it's possible find a human dimension about your job and your story. This is the best for our work. Sometimes we discuss with Francesco if it's possible tell the story of Ali and do a future film, because in the short film we tell a small moment, but the incredible story. And when Ali arrived alone, completely alone in Italy, without nothing, without parents, without friends, without brother, and he have to find the strength to go on. And in our mind, this could be our challenge to understand if it's possible to, especially in this moment in Italy and also in all world, to be a film like this.
Excellent.
Because there are two different movies and also two different books. I wrote a second book after this first book, focused on the journey, because there is a first journey when he travels around, travels between Afghanistan and Italy, 5 years long travel journey. And then there is a second journey, which is when he arrives in Rome and he understands that the journey just started, because he's 12 years old, he's alone, he spent the first night in a station of Rome, and he realizes that the journey is still very, very long, because he has to find an house, an apartment, he has to find somewhere to live, he has to find someone who likes him, he has to find someone who loves him, he has to find friends. It's an incredible journey. He was pretty lucky, because even in this kind of story, even in these dramatic stories, you can be lucky enough to find people who want to help him. At the beginning, he find the government, the state, that give him a way of being hosted in a house where there were many kids like him, and through the years he could find people who can help him to make a living, and the end, it's not the end, but the incredible success that she had is that she could study. And he could get the degree in law. So now he's after
right, and that's the hope of that story. That is the total hope of that story. So Marvin, why don't you take us out? We've got about a minute, just to sort of like wrap it up with
we're still working. You know, like Sara said, 2020 makes things a little more difficult, but we're still working on projects. We're still trying to figure things out. For the movie itself, we're streaming now on various services. You can go to like anightstourmovie.com, and then you would find places that we're doing. We're also I'm currently in the process of trying to author Blu-rays for it. So eventually, once those are done, we'll start finally giving those out to our many Kickstarter backers who've been waiting very, very patiently.
Right.
A solid 6 years.
Yeah, raising money. It's all about raising money.
But in general, like, I just feel very blessed to always be able to have the opportunity to work with Sara, to work with Joe and Darnel. Like, you know, I would love nothing more than for this pandemic to blow over so that we can all get back together and start making more stuff again. That would be my greatest joy.
Yeah, and I mean, we and as film festival producers, we want it to all go away too, so we can all be in person. We can all be hanging out, and we can all be feeling each other's energy. I mean, we're feeling it here on Zoom, but it's a little bit of a different thing. So we want to thank you all so much for coming on, for having this conversation, for your films, for the work that you're doing, for the voices that you are lifting up, that you are telling these incredible stories that we all need, and we all don't even know we need them, but we need them. And I think it's just incredible, and hats off to all of you. Beppe, for you, for getting up. It's 3 o'clock in the morning in Italy. Go back to bed. And thank you so much for being a part of RoxFilm this year. We really greatly appreciate it.
Real quick, guys, real quick before we go, real quick. Everybody say hi to Selena. She disappeared for 5 years and nobody knows where she's at. Now she pops up on Zoom all of a sudden. Like, you know, she was in Afghanistan hiding somewhere, and all of a sudden, you know, the Zoom camera found her.
There she is.
I ain't talked to you in years.
Yeah. All right.
Glad to see you still have a pulse.
Thank you for that. Right. Selena, Sara, Selena.
Thank you, everyone. Great work.
All right. Thank you.
Bye. Yeah. Bye.
Bye. Ciao. Thank you.